I took a DNA test and found out I raised someone else's child for 7 years. A few days ago, I found out that the son I've been raising for 7 years isn't mine. Not biologically. My wife and I have been together for almost 10 years. We have 2 kids. The older one, the one this is about, is 7 now. I was there at his first ultrasound. I held her hand during the delivery. I taught him to ride a bike, went to school events, sat through parent-teacher meetings, treated colds, tucked him in at night. He's always called me dad, and I never doubted for a second that he was mine. Not once, until now. Turns out my wife cheated on me before we got married. Just once. Or at least that's what she says. She got pregnant afterward, didn't know for sure who the father was, assumed it was me, and just never told me. I didn't want to ruin what we had, she said. I found out after I decided to take a DNA test. Didn't tell anyone, just did it. And the result came back, 0% match. That same night I left. I'm staying at my brother's now. He and his wife told me I should talk it out somehow, maybe post it here. Maybe someone's been through this. Maybe someone can tell me what to do, because I honestly have no idea how to live with this. I'm not even sure if I'm angry. Or maybe I am, but I can't untangle what I'm feeling. It's all mixed up inside. Disappointment, betrayal, sadness, confusion, guilt, rage, fear. All of it at once. I can't eat right. I can't sleep. I just sit and think. What now? What about him? What about our younger kid? What about her? Do I leave? Do I file for divorce? Do I tell my son? Or do I just keep pretending everything's fine? How can I, when every time I look at him now, I feel like he's not mine? I don't know. I really don't. I'd appreciate hearing your thoughts. What would you do? Update how it all started and how she confessed. A lot of people asked how I even got here, what happened, why I decided to do the test, whether there was a reason, whether something felt off. But the truth is, no. Everything seemed fine. We lived our life. The kids were growing. We had fights, sure, but nothing crazy. Nothing that would make me think about betrayal. If someone had asked me a couple months ago, "Do you trust your wife?" I'd have said yes, without hesitation. I trusted her. I never had the habit of checking her phone, reading her messages, or stalking who liked her stories. I thought we were good. Then my brother made a joke. He said, "Trevor looks more like Mike than you." Just a dumb joke. We both laughed, but something in my head clicked. Not right away, not that day, but the thought started growing. I started looking at Trevor more, watching how he talked, how he moved, how he reacted to stuff. And I couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. I felt like an idiot for even thinking about it, but the more I tried to brush it off, the more it dug into me. One night I snapped, went online, looked up how to order a test, did everything quietly, took his toothbrush, sent it off, started waiting. Every day I told myself, what the hell are you doing? I imagined getting the results and seeing that everything was fine, that I'd just wasted time worrying over nothing. But when the email came, I opened it and just froze. I kept rereading those lines like they weren't even about me. And then it hit me, like really hit me. I stormed into the kitchen. She was by the stove. I held out the phone and said, "What the hell is this? What the actual fuck is this?" She didn't even get it at first. She looked, then went pale, then started mumbling something. I was yelling. I mean full-on yelling, because I couldn't hold it in. I kept asking who, when, why. She was crying, saying she didn't know, that it must be a mistake, that it wasn't possible, that it was all nonsense. I didn't stop. I was pacing in circles, slapping my legs, swearing, yelling, demanding the truth. At first she denied everything, said I'd lost my mind, said it wasn't real. And then she broke, sat on the floor, hugged her knees and said there was one time. Before the wedding, she didn't know who the father was, just assumed it was me, and decided not to say anything. She said she was scared. She didn't want to ruin everything. She loved me. I was the best dad. And all that. I didn't even hear most of it. I just stood there thinking I must be losing my mind. I'd been living with someone who'd lied to me every single day. I raised a child I thought was mine, and she knew. She knew, and said nothing. I couldn't stay in that house. I couldn't sleep in that bed. I couldn't hear her voice. I told her I needed to think and left. Packed a bag and went to my brother's. She cried, grabbed at me, begged me not to go, said she'd explain everything. And I said, there's nothing left to explain. Now I'm at my brother's. Every morning I wake up and feel like something in my life is broken. I don't know what's next. I have no idea. When I left, I had no idea what to do. My head was so full of everything that I couldn't even think straight, couldn't figure out where to start. The only thing I knew for sure was that I needed time. Not just a day or an evening. I needed at least a week. No work, no talking, no obligations. Just silence. I called my boss. John's a decent guy. We get along well. He's a father of 3 himself, not the kind who pressures people. He always tries to understand. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I said it straight. John, my life's falling apart. I don't want to get into the details, but long story short, I just found out that my oldest son isn't biologically mine. My wife cheated on me before we got married. I don't know how to deal with it, and I need a few days just to breathe. He was quiet for a bit, then said, take a week. You've got vacation hours saved up. You hardly ever use them. And if you need more, just say the word. And in that moment, it felt like something was still holding me together. I don't know if John will ever read this, but if he does, thank you. Really. You gave me space when I was breaking down, and I don't think you'll ever know how much that helped. After that, I told my brother I couldn't just sit around. He said, let's go to the mountains for a couple days just to get away. We packed the car and left. I barely said a word during the drive. Not because I had nothing to say. I just couldn't form a single clear thought. When we got there, I turned my phone back on, and there it was, a flood of messages from her. At first they were short, then longer, then voice notes, then photos of Trevor, and then things like, I know I destroyed everything, but please don't do this to us. Please, talk to me. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just stared at the screen, then turned the phone off and put it away. I knew if I replied now, I'd get sucked back in, and before I knew it, I'd be right back in that house, the one that still smelled like fake peace. The next day, her parents started messaging. First her mom, then her dad, then some aunt. All of them saying the same thing. It happened before the wedding. You've raised him since birth. He's your son, even if not by DNA. One of them even wrote, you're just emotional right now. Once you calm down, you'll realize you're making a mistake. And I was just sitting on the porch of that wooden cabin, watching the mist roll over the mountains and wondering if I was making a mistake or finally doing something right. Everything inside me was spinning. I'd go from desperately wanting to go home, to the kids, to the couch, to our dishes, to her voice, to picturing her smile and feeling sick. I kept telling myself, so what if he's not your biological son? So what? He's innocent. He's a child. You were there for him. You're the only father he's ever known. What does DNA even matter? And then the voice in my head would answer, it matters. She knew. She kept it from you. She chose to lie every single day, looking you in the eye. And you can't just forgive that because it's not a scratch. It's a hole in your whole reality. And no photo, no drawing, no I'm sorry can patch that up. That's how the days passed. I just kept thinking and thinking and thinking, like I was walking in circles, always ending up right back where I started. I kept putting it off. I didn't want to talk to her, didn't want to deal with anything, didn't want to do anything at all. But at some point I realized I could sit like this for a year, 2, however long, and nothing would change. She messaged me, said she wanted to talk. I said, fine. We met near the school where Trevor studies. There's a bench under a tree nearby. We used to sit there all the time. I came and she was already waiting. She sat down, then stood up, then sat again. I stood across from her, looked, and right away I remembered how she wore that same jacket when we were at the hospital when Trevor was 2 days old. She remembered too, just didn't say anything. I said, I don't even know why I'm here. It's hard. My head's still a mess. She didn't interrupt. She just sat and looked at me while I talked. And I talked a lot about how much it hurt, about how I looked at my son and couldn't figure out who I was anymore, about how I didn't even remember when she became a stranger to me, when I used to be sure she was my person. I didn't raise my voice, but it shook the whole time. Then she said, I get it. And I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just want to try something. Maybe we could see a therapist? Together? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to. I just didn't know what to say. I nodded, and that was it. I didn't go home. I went back to my brother's place, lay down on his couch, and stared at the ceiling the whole evening. 2 days later, I texted her, I'm in. One time, no promises. I barely remember that first session. I was at my limit. She said something. I cut her off. I kept thinking she was trying to make excuses. Then I started pushing back, not on purpose. It just came out. She cried, got up, and walked out. The therapist stayed. He didn't try to fix me, didn't ask stupid questions. He just said, it's okay. If you're still willing to try, come back. So we did. Second time. Third. Some sessions were rough. Sometimes I snapped. Sometimes she did. One time she started crying halfway through and walked out, then came back 5 minutes later. Another time I didn't show up at all. Then I came alone, just sat there and dumped everything I had inside. How angry I was, how I couldn't sleep, how much I hated myself for even thinking about coming back. That was probably session 4. Afterward, I sat in the car and I stared into the mirror for a long time. I looked like I'd been beaten for a week, tired, irritable, eyes dull, and I thought, maybe I'm already broken. Maybe I can't start over. Or maybe this is what starting over looks like. We kept going. I won't say it got easier, but at some point, I started hearing her. Not the words, but the change in her. How she stopped defending herself. How she just asked me to be there. No pressure, no begging. I started visiting the kids. Didn't stay the night. Just had dinner, watched movies, read bedtime stories to the little one. She didn't touch me. Didn't ask anything. Didn't come too close. I saw her trying to be near me, but without pushing. And then one day Trevor asked, Dad, when are you coming back home? And I realized I'd already almost come back. I just hadn't said it out loud yet. I kept turning this decision over in my head. Not for a day or two, for weeks. I'd leave for work and go back to my brother's place. I'd visit my son on weekends, tell him I still didn't know what would happen. And every time I left that house, I'd catch myself thinking that I wanted to stay. Just not there. Not in that lie, not in that pain that still clung to every corner of the apartment. I never said it out loud, but my brother knew. He didn't ask, didn't push. He gave me space, made dinner, sometimes tossed me the car keys and said, Go drive, get some air. And I did. My head was a mess. I kept trying to line up my thoughts into something that made sense, but they kept slipping through. She was texting me, not every day, but I could tell she chose her words carefully. No pressure, no begging. Just, I'm thinking of you. We miss you. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. And somehow that was even harder than if she'd cried or gotten angry, because I knew she was really waiting. Then I started coming by more often. I'd tell my son I wanted to have dinner with him, maybe watch a cartoon or just play for a bit. She didn't interfere, didn't come out smiling awkwardly, didn't offer me a plate, didn't try to play the good host. She'd just go to the bedroom and leave us alone. At some point I realized I was tired of living out of bags, tired of pretending someone else's place was temporary and ours was questionable. There wasn't any big moment. One night after work, I just didn't turn toward my brother's place. I drove home. I opened the door myself, not with a key, just with me. I knocked, and when she opened, I said, I'm tired of running. Let's try. She didn't cry, didn't throw herself into my arms. She just nodded and stepped aside like she was scared that even one wrong move could ruin everything. I walked in, dropped my bag by the door, looked at my son. He was sitting on the floor with his blocks, and he didn't even seem to believe it. Then he said, You're back with us now? I sat down next to him, hugged him, and said, "I never really left. I just got lost." It's been a few months since then. We're seeing a therapist. Sometimes it goes okay. Sometimes I snap, say something I regret. Sometimes she shuts down and I have to pull her back out. I won't say I forgave her. She knows that. But I decided to stay because I love my son, because I love her, because I want to live, not just carry pain around and call that a life. If one day I realize this isn't working, I'll leave, but not today. Today, I'm home. So, the story has come to an end. And it's not the kind of story where you can put a big, clear period and say, this was right, that was wrong. It's more complicated than that. The man chose to forgive. He chose to go back to his family. Yes, it's not a decision everyone could make. Even he wasn't sure until the very last moment. Maybe they'll break up in a month. Maybe they'll make it work. Maybe he'll never be able to forget. No one knows for sure. He could have walked away. And honestly, who would blame him? But he stayed. And now, that's his path. What do you think? Was it the right call? Can trust ever come back? What would you do? Leave a comment. We'll be reading and talking with you. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe. There are many more real, difficult, and brutally honest stories ahead.